So today I've been seeing some articles summing up the weekend box office, and as I predicted, The Hollywood Reporter and some other industry trades are explaining how great Superman is doing, and that this weekend it crossed the $400 million global mark, and therefore everything is seemingly wonderful. And of course, a lot of people that have enjoyed this movie and are really rooting for it to succeed, well, they're very happy. But as I've said before on this channel, I'm not really concerned if people like a movie or not when I report on it. I mean, personally, I didn't love this movie, and that's putting it mildly, but at the same time, if this movie was genuinely doing amazing numbers at the box office, that's exactly what I would tell you, regardless of how I personally felt about the movie. But specifically with Superman, I would say that it's not actually doing all that well, or at least not as well as you're being told by the mainstream media, because while a $400 million box office take certainly doesn't seem measly, if you take into consideration just how much this movie cost to produce and market, well, in that case, I don't think that this movie is a big success at all. Certainly not at this moment in time where, unless a miracle happens within the next month, I think this movie will technically be considered a box office flop by the end of its run. And I say technically because these days, a lot of studios, rather than actually admitting that they've released something that's underperforming, or that they spent a lot of money on something which ended up not being profitable, more often than not, there's just so much spin these days when it comes to how studios even present the box office results, especially when it comes to big studios like Disney and Warner Brothers, who often seem to put more effort into positive PR narratives about themselves than anything else, in order to control public perception while also looking good in the eyes of their investors. And unfortunately, that's just the reality that we live in today. Back in the day, I think studios were more accepting and less manipulative when they knew that they had a flop on their hands, but those days are long gone, especially when you're dealing with these big mega corporations and these multi-billion-dollar IPs and franchises. There's just so much money at stake for them that they apparently won't even ever admit to making any mistakes or even apologize to their customers after delivering a poor product. And the movie Superman is a high-profile one because it's supposed to basically launch or relaunch the entire DC brand in movies. So Warner Brothers have a lot riding on this one. Now, in some places you'll see that Warner Brothers claimed their production budget for Superman was only $225 million, but when filing official company documents recently, they stated that Superman's production budget was over $360 million, and that's a big difference. And when the media asked them about this updated budget, Warner Brothers and James Gunn claimed that it was false and there was a big misunderstanding because they were getting tax credits and special tax breaks, so that's why there was a discrepancy. And yeah, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, but you know what? After some additional research, it appears that not all of that money was actually a tax credit, making this entire explanation seem rather fishy. And the same goes for Superman's marketing budget, which was initially reported by Warner Brothers to be $100 million, but now even friendly industry trades like The Hollywood Reporter are saying that number is probably closer to $200 million, which certainly makes sense for a tentpole movie like this one. I guess what I'm saying here is that this movie had initially reported a total production and marketing cost of $325 million, but now it's looking more like they actually spent closer to $500 million on it. And mind you, as I keep stating here in my videos, studios need to make about 2.5 times the amount they spent on a movie just in order to break even. That's because they have to split the box office with theaters and distributors, so they only get to keep an average of about 40% of the worldwide box office, so by that logic, Superman needs to make well over $1 billion just to break even. But let's say that I was in a very generous mood, and I try to accept the lower estimates of what was invested here. Even then, I still can't imagine a scenario where Superman breaks even if it doesn't at least make $800 to $850 million at the box office worldwide, and even though the movie has been performing pretty decently in the United States with only a 54% second weekend drop, its relatively poor international performance until now means that it isn't likely to reach box office profitability during its run. In fact, I think that it will likely end up making something similar to Zack Snyder's 2013 Man of Steel movie, which had a $670 million worldwide box office, and keep in mind that this is even without adjusting for inflation here, which could at least theoretically show Snyder Snyder's movie in a more positive light. And to make it clear, in spite of what I've been reading in some of the comments to my videos, I'm not a Snyder bro. I liked some of Snyder's ideas for the DCEU, but at the same time, I was also very critical of some of his creative choices. But again, my personal sentiments here are not relevant anyways, only the bottom line. It's also fair to say that Warner Brothers didn't like Snyder's Man of Steel because they wanted to make more money, and the big question is, will James Gunn's Superman ultimately be a real box office improvement over Man of Steel? I really don't think so, but I will keep monitoring the situation and always give you my honest opinion, and if you enjoy my analysis and want to keep receiving DCU updates, please make sure to like and subscribe. I put a lot of thought into my videos, and any type of support that I could get from you guys is truly appreciated. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. From